midnight, and I find myself in a helicopter over the San Francisco Bay. The moonlight dancing on the water. I'm sitting next to Mike, a flight nurse, and just beyond him, on the gurney, my 7-year-old son, Hudson, completely unaware of the excitement that a first helicopter ride should bring. Hours earlier, my husband and I stood with the ER doctor as he pointed to a bright light on the MRI of our son's brain. A stroke. Your son has had a stroke, he says. And now I find myself staring out the window, the light of the moon providing me peace and solace as its constant gaze never fades, and I'm reminded of God's faithfulness and eternal love. And as he's watching me, he's watching us. As a nurse, I've entered hundreds of patients' rooms. My task, my agenda, boldly entering on my territory. And now I find myself in the pediatric ICU, room 10, sitting on a semi-hard sleeper chair, staring at my beautiful son laying in a coma. People entering my room, uninvited strangers. It's their territory. I'm vulnerable and I'm scared. Can they save my son? As the days go by, we begin to get into our rhythm. We look forward to the visits from the doctors and the nurses. A friendly man named Ray who comes in and genuinely asks how Hudson is doing every day as he changes the trash around 10 o'clock. These strangers are now companions on our journey. We can do this. Day 4. I'm watching my son and I realize that something's not right. And I tell the doctors and I tell the nurses, and I don't get an emergent response that I was looking for. As a nurse, I remained respectful and calm, but as a mother, the mama bear within me was rising. Within 2 hours, Hudson crashed. As I stood there watching him, he stopped breathing, and I looked up at the monitors, and his heart rate and his blood pressure was dropping fast. We were quickly ushered out of the room as a team of doctors and nurses entered and surrounded our son to stabilize him. My husband and I stood in the hallway and stared into the glass wall that separated us from our son. And once again, I was conflicted. As a mother, I stood there, my feet heavy, my hands frozen. This isn't happening. This isn't happening, playing over in my mind. But as a nurse, I stood there and it had excitement in my heart as I watched this team, this orchestra of life-saving amazingness surround my son. Once he was stabilized, the doctor came out and he told us the cause of Hudson's crash needed to be determined. If his brain had bled, he would die. If his brain had swelled, then he would be taken to the operating room immediately. So once again, my husband and I find ourselves standing next to a doctor, staring at a screen, waiting for the image of our son's brain to come upon it. Silence. It felt like an eternity. And then all of a sudden, the doctor said, "Call the OR." Immediately, the anesthesiologist and the OR team surrounded our son's bed. And I stopped them and I said, "One kiss. I want to give him one kiss." And so they let me do that. And when I was done, the anesthesiologist gave me a hug. And she looked me in my eyes. And she said, "I'm going to take good care of your baby." And they were gone. And we were left there, powerless. This month, we celebrate 3 years of life for Hudson. We continue on this journey of healing for him, restoring what was taken from him. And I can't help but still look at the moon and see the constant bright light that it shares and shines unfaithfully, and continually be reminded of God's love and awareness of each one of us on our journey. And most of all, as a mother, I am forever thankful for every single person that crossed our path and that saved our son's life. And as a nurse, I left with a renewed passion and a humility and an honor at the role that I get to play, that we all get to play in this orchestra of life-saving amazingness.